How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Raiders Daily Podcast. My name is Steven Michaels. Alright, so last week when we did a show, I just so happened to do a podcast, and I think it was the same day, a couple hours later, the big trade happened. But that's what this show is for. Today, we are going to go through everything. All this free agency stuff that's been happening, because honestly, and to tell you the truth, I record these shows live. I don't even remember what I said last week. So I'm going to go over pretty much everything that has transpired, plus talk about other things as well. So first, let's talk about the big thing. And that is the Raiders traded for Davante Adams, sending a first-round pick and a second-round pick to the Green Bay Packers. And what a trade. They get probably the best wide receiver in football, and they give up their first and second in a draft where a lot of GMs in the NFL are not very fond of. They don't really like this draft. That's the truth. If they did, especially if they like the quarterback market in the draft, teams wouldn't be paying Mitchell Trubisky a whole bunch of money. They would be drafting a quarterback instead. But this draft, it is loaded with wide receivers, and you see that in free agency. A lot of good wide receivers are still available in free agency. And by the way, just to get this out of the way, because I get a lot of questions about this. The Raiders need another linebacker. The Raiders need another offensive lineman. They need a right tackle. Yeah, they probably need a little bit more depth there. They will get it. Don't worry about it. This free agency is going to go on for a while. It's going to go past the draft. There's so many names still out there, especially wide receivers. The problem with the wide receiver thing is the draft, the one thing it's loaded with is wide receivers. Same thing with offensive line. That's why I say don't worry, don't panic about the offensive line. And the wide receiver market in the draft, the wide receiver class in this draft is completely loaded. So then you got to question, hey, do you pay this wide receiver, $10 million, or do you draft one who might even be better? Because it's so deep, this class of wide receivers coming out. So that's one good thing about this draft. In a third round, Raiders could get a right tackle if they want, and probably get a good one. And not to mention, I never mind giving up picks for established good players in their prime, like Davante Adams. Because as you know, the draft is always a gamble. You never know if this guy could be fantastic in college, but does not transition to the NFL. And if you are a Raiders fan, you know this because you've seen this for the past, 20 years. You just seen it last year with Alex Leatherwood, the guy who was supposed to be the right tackle. He was terrible, right? They had to move him to guard. They had to move him inside. The good news on that front is, from what I've been told, Leatherwood has been getting in excellent shape. So maybe, he's a lot better this season. I hope so. But by getting Davante Adams, go ahead, take the first round pick, take the second round pick, because he is worth it. He is a game changer. He is, I would say, probably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Derek Carr is going to have no shortage of weapons this season. No excuses. Not to mention, Derek Carr is about to get paid. That could happen I'm recording this right now on 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. He could be paid by the end of the day today. I do know they're going to have a Davante Adams press conference today. That will be happening at 2 o'clock West Coast time, 5 p.m. real football time, East Coast time. So that should be fun. But yeah, Derek Carr is very close to signing the deal. The deal's pretty much close to being finalized. So, I don't know what the deal, I don't know the terms and conditions, but That's the good news. They got Davante Adams. They have Hunter Renfrow. They went out and they got, today they have Demarcus Robinson from the Chiefs on a visit. He could get signed. He could get signed by the Raiders. And that would just add to the depth chart at wide receiver, which is loaded. And by the way, here's some free news for you. The Raiders are not done there. They could end up drafting a wide receiver, but they could also end up bringing in yet another free agent wide receiver because there's so many of them. And a lot of these guys, these free agent wide receivers, they played on really bad teams that had bad quarterbacks last season, and they still, let's say like they had like 400 yards. Imagine if they had a quarterback like Derek Carr. You could pretty much double those yards with a good quarterback. There's guys like Keelan Cole that are available. There's a lot of good guys that are still available. A lot of good guys. I mean, if you go through the list of free agent wide receivers, Will Fuller still available. There's a lot of guys that are available. So anyways, the Raiders get Davante Adams. Huge, huge move. They also signed Chandler Jones. Now you got Max Crosby on one side, and you got Chandler Jones on the other. They did trade Yannick Ngakoue. That guy, by the way, can't stay on a team for more than a year. What is up with that dude, right? I mean, there's got to be a red flag there. If you can't stay on a team for more than one season, there's something wrong. He's a good player and all, but come on, man. Really? But Chandler Jones is a lot better than Yannick Ngakoue, all right? Chandler Jones is a game changer on defense. Chandler Jones, he's a guy who gets after the quarterback, forces fumbles. He is just better than Yannick Ngakoue. The Raiders trade Yannick Ngakoue for Rock Ya-Sim. And let me tell you something. I think a lot of Raider fans are sleeping on this dude. They are sleeping on him. He's just going up. He's just getting started. This guy is going to be a starter. I'm telling you right now, this guy is good, and he's getting better and better as the years go on. Rock Ya-Sim is going to be a good cornerback. So you got Chandler Jones, Davante Adams, Rock Ya-Sim. Then they go out and they say bye to Jalen Richard. They don't re-sign him. Why? Because Josh McDaniels says, I'm going to bring in my own guys on offense, so my scheme will be a lot more easier to teach to the other guys. So he brings in his running back, Brandon Bolden, who's better than Jalen Richard in my opinion. Then they're not done there. They go out and they sign a cornerback, Darius Phillips. Because the one thing the Raiders had to do in this free agency is not just get like big name stars and overpay them like the Jaguars did, dummies. They had to get depth, and that's exactly what they did. They went out, they got depth, and they got guys that, who knows, can compete for a job. And by the way, real quick, back to the offensive line. The Raiders did re-sign Brandon Parker. They did sign Jermaine Eleanor. He used to play for the Raiders. So both of those guys are going to compete for the right tackle spot. And remember, the last 6 games for the Raiders, their offensive line was not that bad. In the beginning, yeah, not that great. But towards the end of the season, they started to gel. Josh Jacobs was starting, to get some lanes. They started to get a lot better. So I'm not really worried about the offensive line like a lot of Raider fans are. I think you guys should just wait and see. So anyways, they also they signed defensive tackle and Nichols. He's going to be he could be pretty good. They signed another cornerback, Anthony Everett, another guy, more depth, pretty damn good. They also signed another wide receiver, Mac Hollins. If you don't know who Mac Hollins is, he's the dude, if you remember when the Raiders played the Dolphins, on the last play of the game, remember when Ryan Fitzpatrick came in and they grabbed his face mask and he threw that big pass and, all that stuff? That was Mac Hollins who caught that ball. He has some good speed. He's a guy that's going to be competing to get on that depth chart, and he might make it. He's a guy who, again, was with the Dolphins. They didn't have that great of a quarterback. This is a guy that maybe comes to the Raiders and looks phenomenal. Because now he has a real quarterback throwing to him and not some, guy that's not very good. So, those are the guys I look for. Guys that were on crappy teams that didn't have the best quarterback. You bring them to a team that has a good quarterback and has good weapons around them, and that guy's going to look a lot better. Mac Hollins might be the perfect example for that. Also, they signed more offensive linemen. They signed Alex Bars. They signed another tight end and Jacob Hollister. Now, they got a lot of tight ends. And, they do got a lot of tight ends now. They got Foster Monroe. They got Bowers. They got Darren Waller. I think I'm missing one as well. But they got a lot of tight ends. I don't know what they're going to do with all these tight ends. But anyways, Micah Kaiser, they signed him, a linebacker. They also, Josh McDaniels brings in his own fullback and Jacob Johnson. Smart move, by the way, because a fullback is pretty important as far as scheme-wise and the red zone. Now, yes, everyone, I think I speak for all of Raider Nation when I say everyone loved Alec Ingold, right? Everyone loved him. Great guy. I think he's a pretty solid player. But when you want to change the culture and get better in the red zone, you want to bring in your own fullback. This is a guy who, a fullback does a lot in the red zone. Not to mention, I like Alec Ingold, but Jacob Johnson is a lot better blocker, I think, than Alec Ingold. So I think that is going to help the running backs, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, in the red zone. I really do. They also signed another running back, Amir Abdullah. We'll see how he does. And they signed a backup quarterback, Garrett Gilbert. Not a big fan of that one, right? Marcus Mariota, as you know, is gone. He's going to get an opportunity to be a starting quarterback. So that's that's good for Marcus Mariota. I wish he could have stayed as a backup to Derek Carr, because I like when they would put both of them in the game. I still think the Raiders are going to end up signing another quarterback eventually. Nathan Peterman's still available, but I hope they sign someone who's more of a... I want them to continue what they were doing with Marcus Mariota. When they would put Carr on the field with Mariota, you have that element, that run-pass option element. I like that. I like that a lot. That's something that John Gruden, installed in that playbook, and I think Josh McDaniels, if they find a right backup quarterback who's a scrambling type, who has some speed, I think you got to do more of that. I really do. But that's pretty much all of them. They signed a linebacker, Kyle Fackrell. I don't really know much about this guy, to be honest with you. But they signed a lot of guys. Like I said, Darius Phillips, I think I mentioned him. And like I said, they do have Demarcus Robinson in today for a visit. We will see how that goes. Maybe they sign him. They're going to have a hell of a wide receiver court. I'm telling you right now, this team is going to be a lot better. On defense, they're adding all these cornerbacks for a reason, right? And I still wouldn't be shocked, even though they have Rocky Sim and Mullen. Those two could start, but you got Darius Phillips there, you got Anthony Everett there. I wouldn't be surprised if they sign one more. I see a lot of Raider fans on Twitter. Speaking of that, I have to say this. Guys, okay, people who go on Twitter, or I'm never on Instagram, but I guess there's a problem on Instagram as well. There are so many of these fake accounts that I don't know what they do. I guess they either pretend they're insiders. I don't know if they're parody accounts. I don't get it. But either way, it's all BS. None of it's real. It's all fake news. You got a guy on there talking about, Stephon Gilmore for 3 weeks now. That, he's signing tonight. Listen, here's the deal. I'm going to tell you the truth, okay? With the Raiders and Stephon Gilmore. The Raiders spoke to him early on. He wanted way too much money. The Raiders haven't talked to him since. And that's how a lot of teams are dealing with these free agents that are older. You know, they're not going to give them $11-12 million. What happened was, this is the reality of what happened. Early on in free agency, all of these free agents, seeing the Jaguars and the Chargers, and mostly the Jaguars though, overpaying very average players. You know, like Zay Jones got like $40 million. He's Zay Jones, okay? But he got there's so many of these players. So all these bigger names and guys are a lot better than these guys thought that they were going to get paid maybe double. But what they found out was, no team is going to do this. So there are a lot of good free agents that are still available that now are going to have to go on a visit tour where they go visiting teams and just pretty much take whoever has the best offer. That is what is going to happen now. I mean, Honey Badger's still a free agent. The amount of free agents that are out there is pretty crazy. I mean, there are a lot of free agents that are pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, like I said, the wide receiver position alone. Like for the wide receiver position alone has like a lot of good players that if they went on a good team, they would be pretty damn good. They really would. But, like Keelan Cole, a whole bunch of them. Sammy Watkins, I believe, is still available. I mean, I'm not going to read the whole list, but Demarcus Robinson, who's with the Raiders right now, he's still available. There's a lot of guys that are still available. And like I said, this is going to go on past the draft. You got to remember, after the draft, teams cut a bunch of players, and then more players are available. So the Raiders know this, obviously. So they're not going to spend every single penny right now when they know there's going to be even more free agents after the draft. And as far as, a lot of people are asking about players that are free safeties. The Raiders have a free safety in Trayvon Moehrig. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure the staff likes this guy. They just drafted him last season. There is no reason to move on from Moehrig yet. Yeah, you can bring in a veteran that maybe plays on third downs every once in a while, but what are you going to pay that guy? So you got to think about it that way. I mean, and running back, by the way, there's a lot of running backs that are still free agents. Sony Michel is still a free agent. Melvin Gordon's still a free agent. Marlon Mack's still a free agent, I believe. So, yeah, there's just a lot of free agents still out there that the Raiders still can go out and get if they want, but they don't have to overpay. And as far as offensive tackle goes, I mean, Nate Solder is still available, someone that Josh Jacobs knows very well. And I mean, he's old, but they could bring him in if they really wanted to. There's a whole bunch of people still available, whole bunch of offensive linemen. I mean, the list is pretty big. So they don't really have much to worry about when it comes to that. Now, like I said, Derek Carr is going to be getting paid eventually. The Raiders do, in my opinion, have to sign one more linebacker. Right now, they got Denzel Perryman. He looks like he's going to be the middle linebacker. But outside of that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about, this Kyle Fackrell, if that's even how you pronounce his name, because I really don't know anything about him. Or this Kaiser dude. I don't know much about him. I don't know if these are guys that are going to be starters or they're just going to be depth guys. Seems like they're going to be more depth guys than anything. So they can go out there and, I mean, Bobby Wagner, I believe, is still a free agent. Dante Hightower is still a free agent. Kyle Van Noy, I believe, is still a free agent. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys. The list is pretty big, of guys that are free agents. So the Raiders really don't need to go rush right now. I think Alec Ogletree is still a free agent, I think. Don't hold me to it right now, but But there's just so many free agent linebackers. If you just go look, Google it. Pro Football Focus, which I don't use their rating system at all, but they have a good list and they keep it updated about players who are available or, sign with another team. They usually update it really fast, so that's a pretty good list to go look at it. I suggest all you guys to go look at that list if you want to know who's available and who's not. There's a ton of guys that they could bring in. Not to mention, yes, Jamie Collins is a free agent. But yes, they gave away the first and second round pick. Still got a third round pick. You could get a linebacker there if you wanted. I think they're going to end up signing someone, though, in free agency. Kyle Van Noy seems like a guy that would just, fit right in, knows Patrick Graham. And that would be a pretty easy transition. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds so logical. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. And I don't think he's signed anywhere yet. I don't think so as I'm recording this. But if he is, I know the Raiders were interested in him early on. So, who knows? We shall see. But this team is definitely getting better. Definitely. Without a shadow of a doubt, they are getting better. They're adding depth. That's what they need to do. They'll probably add, one more quote-unquote big name. And then after that, there's just so many guys available. And like I said, their prices are going to go down. The longer they're free agents, the more their prices will go down. So that's why I say wait till after the draft, because you're still going to have a ton of these guys that are free agents right now. You're going to get them for more than half of what they wanted when free agency started. I mean, a guy like Marquez Scantlin, okay, the wide receiver out of Green Bay, when free agency first started, that guy wanted like 10 to $11 million. That's how much money that guy wanted. Well, guess what? No one's paying him $11 million. So he's going to have to come back to reality eventually, and he's probably going to end up signing a one-year deal somewhere. Who knows? Maybe with the Raiders, because the Raiders were interested in him at first. They were very interested until they talked to his agent and heard how much money he wanted. They also spoke to, speaking of, Demarcus Robinson. When free agency first started, when they were looking to add to their depth chart at wide receiver, they spoke to him, and he wanted a lot of money. But guess what? That money surely went down. He's there for a visit. He could be signed today. If everything goes well with the visit, the Raiders are probably going to offer him a contract. And like I said, he's no superstar, but, you pair him up with the guys they already have. The Raiders have one explosive offense, and we're not done with free agency. We haven't even got to the draft yet. I mean, this team is going to be competitive. Now, J.C. Jackson, he's been talking some trash. He's been running his mouth with the Chargers. But listen, here's the deal with J.C. Jackson. Probably shouldn't be talking trash about the Raiders, especially, he's just mad because the Raiders wouldn't pay him what the Chargers paid him. But he probably shouldn't be talking trash because guess what? The Raiders head coach, Josh McDaniels, knows what J.C. Jackson is good at and what he's bad at. And don't think for a minute that Josh McDaniels isn't going to dial up plays when they play the Chargers that he knows that J.C. Jackson does not like. And by the way, J.C. Jackson, you're not just going up against Davante Adams. You still got to deal with the best slot wide receiver in the NFL in Hunter Renfrow. On top of that, guess what? You got Darren Waller over there. I mean, pick your poison. Then in the run game, you got Josh Jacobs, you got Kenyon Drake, you got Brandon Bolden, you got a fullback that's a really good blocker. This Raiders team is going to be better. Now, the only thing that can hold them back is the coaching. And like I said, I'm a little bit concerned with Josh McDaniels. I don't trust him because, first of all, he's from the Patriots, and all of those coaches have failed when they go to the NFL, besides Mike Vrabel. But I mean, oh, he wasn't a coach, sorry. So, does that even count? No. But, I mean, Charlie Weiss, he failed. Romeo Crennel, he failed. Bill O'Brien, he failed. Most of them all fail when they leave, right? Josh McDaniels went to Denver. I believe Josh McDaniels he traded Jay Cutler for Tim Tebow. But you know what? It didn't work out, but a lot of people, from what I've been told, they say, he's a different guy now. I don't care if he's a different guy. I need him to be a good head coach because he has a good opportunity here with a very good team, with a very good roster. He has a quarterback in place. Yes, Derek Carr's... If Josh McDaniels is a good coach and he's there for, let's say, 8 years, chances are Derek Carr is not going to be the quarterback for the next 8 years. But for the way it looks right now, the moves the Raiders made, to me, it looks like they are going for Super Bowl or bust. And almost every team in the AFC West, by the way, they're doing the same thing. Chargers doing the same thing. Super Bowl or bust. Denver Broncos, by bringing Russell Wilson in, they think they're going for Super Bowl or bust. Even though, listen, I have said things, about Derek Carr that drive me nuts, especially him not being consistent. But I like Derek Carr better than Russell Wilson, and I'm on record saying that a lot of times. So I don't get the big appeal about Russell Wilson. First of all, people who complain about Derek Carr, one of the big complaints is on third downs, he's not very good. Well, Russell Wilson's not very good on third downs at all. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm fine with Derek Carr. Russell Wilson is not an upgrade in my opinion. But like I said, it's going to come down to the coaches. Josh McDaniels will need to earn my faith in him. He'll have to earn that because, honestly, he has to earn all of your respect. He's coming in as a brand new head coach with a loaded roster. He's supposed to be an offensive guru, right? He's supposed to know, now he has an established veteran quarterback that he at least knows can play in the NFL. It's not like an unknown or anything like that. We know Derek Carr can play in the NFL. Does he have problems being consistent sometimes? He's great for 3 games, then sucks for 2. Yes. But if Josh McDaniels could fix that, Derek Carr can be a top 5 quarterback. If that part of Derek Carr could be fixed, he could be a top 5 quarterback. But that has to be fixed. And maybe this is the right system for Derek Carr. Get the ball out of your hands fast. He's gonna have a lot of freedom at the line. That's just the way the Patriots offense worked. Even Mac Jones had some freedom at the line. But, guys like Tom Brady had like a total freedom. Derek Carr, Josh McDaniels is going to trust to have a lot of freedom there. So he's got to make the right checks. He's got to make sure everyone's in the right position. And hopefully, in this scheme, Derek Carr thrives. Because it's been too long since this team has won a Super Bowl. It's been too long since this team has been relevant. Now they're in Las Vegas, okay? They are in Vegas. Everyone's talking about their stadium. We don't need, when they play, let's say, any team, the Broncos, we don't need that stadium to be all Broncos fans. And that's what will happen if the Raiders fail. If the Raiders start losing and they're not winning, Raider fans will simply sell their tickets. And Mark Davis knows this. That's why he didn't want a complete rebuild. He didn't want that. That's why he didn't really want to trade Derek Carr, because he's scared of the unknown, right? You want to stick with what you know. You know he can win games. You've seen it happen. You went to the playoffs last season with a special teams coach as your head coach, as an interim head coach. That tells me that they are just a few players away and a real head coach away from being really good. This season, the Raiders must make the playoffs and at least win a playoff game. Season after, Super Bowl. That's the way I see this. The moves that the Raiders have made, you don't bring in Chandler Jones and have pay Max Crosby, have both of those guys, and then on offense bring in Davante Adams, give up a number 1 and a number 2 pick, unless you don't do that unless you are going for a Super Bowl. And that's exactly what the Las Vegas Raiders are doing. They are going for the Lombardi. And I hope they can do it. But McDaniels has to prove that he is the right guy to lead this ship. Can he do it? We will find out. Derek Carr is going to get paid this week. The deal should be done this week. It should be. I don't think it's going to go past 2 weeks. Davante Adams is going to have a press conference today. I think I already mentioned that. At 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. 2 p.m. West Coast Time. I think I already mentioned that, though. And, yeah, so those are all the free agents the Raiders signed. They're not done yet. Remember, we don't know what's going to happen in the draft. Remember, the draft is in Las Vegas. I have a hard time believing that somehow, some way, the Raiders won't at least get a second-round pick back. I don't know how they're going to do it. Anything could happen right now. We know that, right? I mean, any player can get traded. We just don't know. But, I mean, the draft's in Vegas. I mean, don't you want to be picking early when all the fans are there in the first and second round? So I could see the Raiders doing something, packaging picks or something, just to, especially if the right player is still available in round 2, and moving up and getting that player, and then just being like, okay, we're good. You know, we loaded up in free agency with a bunch of guys. We got a bunch of depth. We got the guy we wanted in the draft. You know, obviously not the top guy, but, you know, the second or third guy on our board. We got maybe a future right tackle. Maybe they go crazy and go wide receiver, even though they don't even need to do that in the second round because this class is so deep. You can get a really good wide receiver in the 4th round, 5th round. That's why these wide receivers right now aren't being paid. Because all these teams, they don't like the draft, but one thing they do like about the draft is the wide receivers and the offensive linemen. So, it's good news for the Raiders. It really is. It's bad news for teams that need a quarterback that have to pay Mitchell Trubisky a whole bunch of money. But that's not our problem, is it? But either way, so far, the players the Raiders have brought in, great depth pieces. You know, even signing back Brandon Parker. The guy did, you know, we all have fun, you know, crapping on Brandon Parker. But the guy did step up late in the season last year and played pretty well. You know, so he's going to compete for that right tackle spot. There's no doubt about it. We'll see if he wins. And I have I'm telling you, the offensive line is going to be fine. This run game is going to be fine, and this pass game is going to be excellent. As long as they can get pressure on the quarterback, which they're going to be able to do, because now they have a defensive coordinator who's more aggressive, who actually blitzes, and not a guy who just sits back and zone all day, like Gus Bradley does. You know, Patrick Graham's going to bring the heat. And remember, this is going to be a big year. A big year. This is not getting played enough, but this is going to be a big year for Diablo. He's going to be a linebacker, and he's going to start at linebacker this season. So it's going to be a big year for him. It's either you're a linebacker in the NFL, a starting linebacker, or you're not. So that's why they're bringing in depth. That's why they'll have guys there. Just in case Diablo doesn't work out, you have someone else there. But again, this free agency is going to go past the draft, so don't worry about things. They've been doing an excellent job in Vegas building this team. Just think about the players they have, guys. Just think about what they have now. Chandler Jones is 100 times better than Yannick Ngakoue. And by the way, Yannick Ngakoue is on a different team every year. What does that say about Yannick Ngakoue? To me, there's some red flags when you're on a new team every single year. Yeah, honestly. Chandler Jones, to me, he's a guy who has more finesse than Yannick Ngakoue, and a guy who gets after the quarterback, but also forces fumbles when he gets after the quarterback. And then you have Max Crosby on the other side, who's getting better and better every single year. This team is going to be really good, guys. Buckle up. The Raiders, depending on the coaching, they could be back, and they could be competing for a Super Bowl this season. I will see you guys next week. I hope I wrapped up everything the Raiders did in free agency. It's kind of hard to do, but in 35 minutes. But I tried my best. And then next week, we will do another show. Another free agency show, because guess what? I don't think this is going to end. They're going to keep adding players. And why not at this point? Add as much players as possible. That way, when you get into camp, everyone can compete. Not everyone they sign, by the way, are going to end up making a team. Abdullah, the running back, we don't know if he might not make the team. We just don't know, right? That's what camp is for. But the best guys will make the team, and the guys who, just don't have it will get cut. Simple as that. But at the end of the day, the Raiders are going to have a better roster than they had last year, and let's hope they got to have better coaches. I can't see how they wouldn't, to be honest with you. Especially on defense. I think their defense is going to be much better. And people forget about the players they already have. You're forgetting about Trayvon Moore. You're forgetting about Nate Hobbs. These are guys that are probably going to take the next step this season and look pretty damn good. So don't sleep on these guys just yet. Do not sleep on them. I'm telling you right now. So that's it. I will see you guys next week for an all-new episode of the Raiders Daily Podcast. My name is Stephen Michaels. If you want to donate to the show, and if you like this content, you can. It's Venmo at the Raiders Daily Podcast. Go ahead. Or Cash App. It's just Raiders Daily with the money sign there. The money sign Raiders Daily, sorry. And yeah, so if you like this show and you want to support this show, please do so, because I don't run ads. I don't do anything like that. So go ahead and do that. When I upload this to YouTube, I'll put it in the description, the links to it. So I will see you next week. My name is Stephen Michaels. This is the Raiders Daily.